right, we've made it to segment 4. This is the final segment in our show.
Yeah, goes fast.
It goes too fast sometimes, but you know what? That's good. We're answering good questions.
Yeah.
You're answering good questions. We're talking about retirement, having enough money, and all of the things that goes into really what that entails. And just some of it is, we're talking a little bit about just mentally where you feel comfortable. Okay, so we're going to ask some more questions here for Phil, and I want to talk a little bit about just steps, just practical steps that retirees can take to help protect their retirement from the impact of what we've been dealing with here lately over the last several years of this stock market volatility. How do we protect ourselves against that?
Well, I always tell people, Jessa, it's like we can't determine what's going to happen with the stock market. You know, it's going to do what it does, but we can control how much we want to subject to that stock market. So again, we'll go back to that rule of 100. We'll subtract from our age. So we say we have 30%, we'll say on a 70-year, we have a 30% exposure.
Yeah.
So we'll say, okay, I'm going to take 30% of my life savings and I'm going to expose it to the stock market and what's going on there. The other thing is I do a managed approach. So I'm managing the funds. I change things based upon what's going on with the market. A lot of people say, well, you know, I buy the index and I just leave it alone and it'll work its way out. Sure, yeah, you could do that. But I like to take a more hands-on with management. So I'm going to change around the investments based upon the market that we're in. Not saying that we'll come out of the market altogether, but we may change how much we expose to different sectors.
Right.
You know, like last year, the gas, the oil sectors were way up. You know, some of those oil positions were just off the charts. So we would want some exposure to that, maybe a little bit more. But on the other hand, the technology sector was really getting wiped out. So maybe we want less exposure to that. So we still want a managed approach to our 30% in the market.
Just riding the average.
We just don't want to we'll just leave it in these ones knowing that these sectors aren't doing well and we'll just follow them down. I always tell people, you know, I may not learned a whole lot when I was a little kid, but I can tell you my mom told me, you know, when a train's coming, don't sit there in the middle of the tracks and wait on it.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Well, and this really shows when you're talking with your clients, because even if, you know, it maybe wasn't their best year ever, it's not as bad as it could have been, because it could have been really bad.
If you just leave it to where it was and the market changes and you're not kind of changing your investments with it, probably you're not going to have as good of a return as may be possible. So we still have that 30% exposure, but we still change the sectors and what we're exposed to in that market.
Okay, so before we leave today, let's talk about the implications of making some of those mistakes, right? So if we're making some of these common mistakes that retirees can make during these periods where the stock market is volatile, it's tricky to know what's going to happen, and it's tricky not to misstep. What are some ways we can sort of mitigate these errors?
Sure. So Jessa, one thing we always talk about on this show is the income buckets for retirement. That's the difference, I think, from financial planning and retirement planning is the income buckets. Where do we take our income? From the capital gains bucket, from the IRA 401k deferred bucket, from a Roth tax-free bucket. So to make a really bad decision would be, let's just say I have too much money in my checking account and I need, say, an extra $10,000. But I like to look at a checking balance of so much. But I'm like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and take that $10,000 out of the middle bucket, the IRA income bucket. Well, when I do that, maybe I have to take out $12,000 instead of $10,000 because of taxes. And maybe I should have just took it from my checking account when I already had paid taxes on those funds. So this is one thing I find a lot. So.
Yeah. Well, and also you're taking at a time, right, when there's a downturn. So not a great time to do that. Okay, so if you're wondering where you stand, it's a good time to get a Revolutionary Wealth Review. And I will tell you, it is so nice to have the folks over at Revolutionary Financial Group just walk you through where you are in your financial picture. You can call Rachel at the office to get that set up. They'll take great care of you. And thank you so much for watching. And thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
We appreciate it.
All
We'll
right.
see you next time on Lowcountry Money Talk.